Lifers Podcast. Get with it or get forgotten.
Welcome back, E-Lifers. This is Fit for Lifers episode 2 on the Lifers Podcast Network. We have a big episode today with our special guest. He's a former West Point track athlete. He also holds the indoor 60-meter dash record, 200-meter dash indoor record, and third place 400-meter dash indoor record. I'm not going to wait any longer. It is Jose Santana. He's also an Orlando Floridian. How you doing, brother? Thank you for coming on.
I'm good, man. Hey, man, I'm good. I want to say thank you for this opportunity. I appreciate it. I'm excited. Ever since we planned this, I've been trying to calm down and be ready. Like, all right, I want to be prepared. I want to, say something worth saying. So I just want to say I appreciate the opportunity, man. Thank you so much.
Of course.
I'm excited to be here.
Of course. Go ahead and show off. What do you got in the back?
So for the back, I got my
for our YouTube listeners out here.
My plaque that I created for my 4 years at West Point. I have my jersey. I have a sleeve that I used to wear. I used to wear a sleeve. Didn't really do anything for me athletically, but I thought it looked cool. So I was like, why not? Got a couple pictures. But yeah, this is definitely something that I wanted for myself because it was a nice little reminder of like times that I had, people that I met, my experiences. So looking at it, definitely brings back memories. So
speaking of memories, man, how did you even get started in track and field? How was that?
So I didn't start track until my first official year was 6th grade year at Corner Lake. That was my first time actually like being introduced to the actual sport.
Really?
Yeah, that was and I wouldn't say I actually fell in love with it all the way up until my junior year of high school. Like
wow.
that whole
you were just
period
passed,
was.
But you really didn't.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I cared. Don't get me wrong, but I'll be honest. My focus was football. Like that's what and like our friend group, the people we hung around. Whether your sport was your main sport was basketball, or you were a track guy or baseball. It seemed like at some point we all came together to play football.
Yeah.
So I saw that, I want to be a football player. I want to go play with my friends. I want to be on the team with them. I want to, so that was kind of my focus. Track was just something to help me get better at football. And then I didn't really I started realizing like, okay, maybe football's not my thing. Maybe I'm more gifted in track. So, like I said, junior year, that's when I quit football. Like I fully committed to track and field. We even joined the cross country team, so that was our first year doing that. That was an experience.
I think, I didn't even mention it probably, man. People don't understand. All right, me and Jose go back 6th grade. Actually, ironically, 6th grade.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm going to listen to a lot of the story that he says, and it's going to make me laugh because I was there for a lot of it.
Exactly. Yeah, you were exactly.
But I love it. Yeah, you're right. We were on the same cross country team. We both got injured the same day on football.
Oh my God, I'll never forget that day.
So, we've been through a little bit in terms of athletically. I am going to mention at one point I was faster than him cross country wise.
He was. Hey.
I can only
hey, man.
say that.
Hey, you own that. You definitely did. You definitely were.
I'll never be so mad when I set the record for the school for cross country and then you beat it the very
next day. Like the next day.
Son of a gun,
like this
dude.
guy.
You gonna let me get it? You gonna live in my glory for more than a week?
Right. No. My favorite story from cross country will always be when we were running together that one time. You know what I'm talking about? And you were like the last this is the last maybe 600 meters or something, and you were just like, I gotta go get it, man. I gotta go. And I was like, you go. I was like, you go ahead, bro. And you took off.
That was the first time I truly experienced runner's high.
Really? I could believe it because you took off. Like we had just ran like 3 miles, and you just I don't know what hit you, but you.
So people don't know.
Go ahead.
If people don't know, cross country, you run a 5K, 3.1 miles. The way that our track team, we were lucky to have our cross country team where, for some reason, Jose and I were like around the same speed at that time.
Yeah, exactly.
And so we literally ran as partners where we would run and cut. I guess I can say cut people off, but we would.
Yeah, we ran together. We ran the whole race together, except like the last yeah.
We would run, and then if someone at the latter part, whoever kind of we pushed each other the entire time.
Yeah, exactly. It was a give and go type of thing. That's exactly what it was. You started going forward. I was like, I got to keep up. I started to go forward. Kevin's like, I got to keep up. It was just like a back and forth, and it definitely helped us run faster.
It did. And that one time, I was like, screw it, I gotta go. He was like, just go. And I ended up saying, that was when I actually said
that was
it.
the time, yeah.
But
yeah, I just remember.
The funny thing about it is we were supposed to be running in threes, but shout out to Felix. He could not.
Felix, man. Shout out to my Felix. He held it down on JV too, man. He held it down.
He hated it.
Oh my God.
He thought he was gonna be like, I'm gonna spend so much time with Jose.
Oh, yeah, Jose.
And was running with I don't even know who. Like I don't know.
I couldn't tell. Couldn't tell. Honestly, I give him credit, man. He stuck it out too. He stuck it out the whole way. Like hey, credit to him, man.
Yeah, so
I don't know. I don't think I could have done it without you, bro. I'm gonna be honest. Cross country wouldn't have happened without you,
bro. So likewise, do you remember? I mean, we're kind of going to do now memory lane, but whatever. It's fun for the people.
Yeah.
But cross country was. I remember cross country being really hard. Like
it was
legitimately
tough,
like hard.
It was tough. I remember mile repeats when we would do mile repeats in Cyprus, and it was just.
What was your fastest mile? Because I ran my fastest mile during mile repeats.
My fastest mile was in 8th grade. I ran the mile, and it was like a 5:04 or something like that. Something.
Again, dude, my fastest is 5:06.
Yeah, mine was like a 5:04. Yeah, something around there. I mean, it's not much faster, but yeah, that was and I did that. I did that in 8th grade.
One of my biggest regrets is like, how did I not just push 6 more seconds to try to for me to be able to say I was a sub-4?
Bro, I know exactly what you're talking about.
I won't ever be able to say it again.
Yeah, like I'm never gonna be like where I was in that shape. I'm not gonna be able to run miles and like that because we were running like and our mile repeats were not slow. We were running like 6.
We're running. No, we had to run. We were running around 5:20, 5:30.
Were we running that fast?
Yes, because that's the reason why. Remember, because we had to do. Actually, going into the next question, what our training regimen? I remember cross country specifically. We would have to run. We would run our first mile, and then typically around 5:30, because our 5K was around 18 and 19 minutes.
It was like 18. Yeah. I do remember that. So that's probably about right. Yeah.
We were running 5:30s, and then that one time he was like, "You have to beat the time you did before, or you're not gonna."
That's right.
And so that's when I ended up running the 5.
You running that 5:06? Oh, wow.
But
that makes sense now.
You were, it's funny. It's interesting. You said you fell in love with it around 11th grade, but from my perspective and someone who saw, knew you in middle school, you had a kind of a legendary work ethic with your father in middle school, when I remember.
Yes.
So how was that?
Exactly. So that goes into my high school, your next question, the high school training regiment.
Yeah.
The way it worked, so following my 9th grade, or going into my 9th grade year, following my 8th grade year, I got approached by a coach to join his club track team. So he came up to me after the track fest, the middle school track meet that brings all the middle schools together. I had won that 400 event. I won the 400 in the middle school track fest meet, and he went up to my parents and he was like, "Hey, like I'm a track coach for Florida Elite. We're a track team. We're a club track team. We go to meets around Central Florida. So I would love to have your son be part of my team." And I was like, yeah, why not? Cool, I'm down. My parents were like, that's fine, as long as like we don't have to pay. Like we don't want to, like if we have to pay, like we can't.
Yeah.
And he was like, nope, don't worry about it. He's like, all I ask is that you come to the meets or come to some practices, maybe like twice a week, because they practice in Evans. So I had to go all the way to Evans to go practice. So I would go like 2-3 days a week, and then they tell me where the meet is, and me and my parents, we would show up, compete, and that was an amazing experience. I met really great people doing that. One of my closest friends from track and field, he ran track at West Orange, and he also got approached by that same. We were in that same race, that 800 meet. It's funny how like everything. It's funny how things like come together. He was in that same 400 race that I was in middle school, and he's somebody. Shout out to my man Angel Coburn. That's my guy. He ended up joining that club track team with me. So we bonded out that way. Like we were just, all right, we're just here, for opportunity, and he was the same way. He was more he did track because he was trying to be better for football. And it just happened that, he found his talent in track. And that's kind of what I did. And so I say my training regimen was intense because I did that AAU, and then on top of that, I was doing high school track, from the spring. So I was doing club track from about September, or from about, like, I would say May-ish to about September, like the summer. And then I got to go to Junior Olympics with the track team, Florida Elite. Like, that was an amazing experience. I got to run in New Orleans and Detroit, so that was amazing.
I didn't even know that. That's
And then,
awesome.
yeah, it was pretty cool. It was unbelievable experience. I got to run against people who, my running career has shown that I've ran against past Olympians, future Olympians, like, some of the greatest talents, the sporting field has ever seen. Like, it's amazing. I got to see Tyreek Hill, the Kansas City Chiefs wide receiver.
Really?
I got to see him run a 200 while he was in high school, like while we were in high school.
Well, how old is he? Our age?
Yeah, well, he's our age. Yeah, he graduated the same age we did.
Okay.
The only reason why that he wasn't that, I'm not trying. He just had to go to JUCO, so he went to that for a year. But yeah, so he was but I watched him run the 200 meter because there was a meet in Orlando at the end of the year. It's called the Golden South meet, and it's an invitational meet. So it's one of those meets where they you have to be invited. Like, it's top talent from Florida, like Central Florida, Miami. It's the Golden South. So
you got that opportunity because you won.
Yeah, it's all based off time. So you apply for it, and they say, hey, if you don't meet our criteria of what the times or marks that we're looking for, like.
And who was helping you? Who was helping you submit these and apply your?
My dad. I'm telling you, my dad did everything. My dad was my dad. My dad was my personal trainer, my coach. He took it literally was just like, to go back to the training regimen, he was my trainer like throughout the whole 4 years. He pretty much took the responsibility where it was like, hey, we got to work out. Like, he taught me what it was to not just treat the sport as a, as a sport. Like, oh, like, I'm just doing this just to do it. It's more of a lifestyle. Like, if you're trying to be successful, like, it's not just, hey, I practice during practice hours. It's not just I just show up to the event, the meet, or the game and just play and that's it. Like, no, this is something that, you got to be committed. You got to do stuff in your free time. So, like, I remember constant days, me and my dad, he would wake me up around 6, 7 o'clock in the morning, like, hey, let's go to the track. And we would hop in his truck, go all the way. It was a struggle to find a track that was open to us, to the public. So we would always end up, for some reason, Corner Lake was always open. So 6, 7 o'clock in the morning, I was out there with my dad running on Saturdays and doing that stuff. And, he really kept me up with my shape. So
let me ask him, what was if you could take us through a session, what was that like?
So my dad, he's a big research guy. Like, my dad, like, when I tell you he's focused, yeah, he is. He does his research. So he going to coaching clinics. Like, he does all this stuff. So he was always high volume. I'll say the hardest workouts I've ever done in my track and field were from my dad. Like,
oh, wow.
100%. Yeah, he pushed me to limits that, like, it was tough. He definitely was that one that instilled that, hey, like, it's not gonna be easy. Like, I can't, me personally, like, I have to do multiple events in a meet. Like, I have to be able to, handle the workload. So it was intense. There was times where I'm sitting there, I'm like, what am I doing? Like, why am I killing myself for this? Like, for what? And he was always there to just keep pushing me. And it got to the point where, like, I knew if I wanted to go out, like, let's say I want to go out on a Saturday. We had something planned, like, oh, I want to do this on Saturday. I knew if I didn't work out, I wasn't going. I knew that. Wow. Like, my dad, that's the first question he would ask. I'm like, hey, I want to go out tonight. Can I go with my friends? And he was like, did you work out? And I'm like, no. He's like, well, you better figure something out. And I'm like, oh my God. So I was like, yeah, dude. He's like, all right, well, throw P90X video in there and, do that before you go out. And I'm like, all right. I'm like, I have to, you know what I'm saying? Like, I have to do it. And it did, looking back on it, like, you don't think about it. Like, you're just like, oh, come on, man. Like, let me just go. Like, I really have to work out. But, looking back on it, you're like, that's what made me successful. That's what made me, be able to do the things that I did, because he pushed me. And so I say my high school training regiment was, you know, pretty chaotic because I didn't really have a break. It was club track, and then even like with my dad, like I would get entered in, you know, open meets, so I would just go do that. Then I was doing high school track, and then I was doing cross country on top of football. Like, so I was constant. Like, it was a constant. I never really had like a real recovery period throughout my high school career.
So like you said, so let's say you were gonna, you know, you're about to work out. What, like, just because I'm really curious for those who are listening who might not have the that support system from, you know, from
Oh, so you want like a workout, like how would I? Oh, okay, yeah, okay. So this is the way my dad ran a workout, which I think is the way to do it. One, we were big on our warm-up exercises, like making sure that, you know, our little walkthroughs, whether it be, you know, walking lunges, you know, just getting your body ready, because I feel for most sports, you know, you're gonna hit that part of practice where it's high tempo, where you need it, you know, you got to be on it. And a lot of people, you know, I've seen it, you know, I'm not gonna lie, I've done it myself, where, you know, you'll BS a walkthrough. You'll sit there and, you know, you'll have a conversation with whoever, you know, you're next to, and you're not really paying attention what you're doing. And my dad, that's why I was blessed, because it was just me and my dad. My dad, like, I couldn't talk to nobody, like, except for him, and he's making sure, like, make sure you're doing it right. So good walkthroughs, and a really good warm up, and definitely stretch. Like, stretching was so important. Making sure, like, if you want to get faster, you have to be able to stretch. Like, you have to be flexible. You have to be able to, you know.
And we're talking more dynamic stretching than static.
Yeah. Yes, it's a lot. Yeah, the beginning of the workout was more dynamic stretching, you know. And then, so we focused a good amount of that, and then the workout, you know, once I was ready and like I was warm, you know, and my dad gave me all the time I needed. He was like, listen, he's like, you need to be ready. Like, you're gonna be running some fast times. You know, you got to be ready. So definitely the warm ups and the stretches were a big part of, you know, making sure I was able to hit the peak for my tempo workouts. You know, being able to have that. You know, I don't have to worry about, you know, getting hurt. Like, my body's ready. I'm warmed up. I stretched. I did everything right. And then, so it was high tempo workouts. And, you know, it was my dad was always big on, he'll cut the workout down if need be, but you got to be, you know, it's not like there was no days off. Like, if he would say, hey, we got 6 200s, and I would hit like 4. And if I was getting it, he was like, oh, we can cut it down. So it was always a flexible workout, but at the same time, like, I still needed to be able to.
You had to hit the peak.
Exactly.
Your high intensity in order.
Exactly.
We're not going to overuse his muscles or something like that, because now
exactly
he's gotten to that. His body has pushed itself, and now we can kind of
exactly.
Assuming that's
I didn't, especially with like track and field, you know, it's a long day, you know, it's a long stretches, you know, you're there all day. So you got to be able to, and if you're running multiple events, you got to be able to have that endurance, have that, you know, where I have an event at 2:00. My next event isn't until 3. I got to make sure that I'm ready. I got to make sure I'm recovery. So, because if you're not conditioned well enough, and you haven't your workouts, your practices, you haven't at least touched that high tempo mark where you're really getting it and you're really starting to exert yourself and you're really, you know, practicing the sport, you know, then you're not going to be able to compete in the meets or the events, games. You're not going to be able to, because if your body's not used to it in practice, you're not going to be able to, you know, it's what exactly, like, you practice how you play.
Okay. So let's say would you do like a 6 200s was kind of an example that you gave? And
yeah, it would be, yeah. So it was, you usually break up the workout. You would break it up like, so for me, you have sets and reps, right? So it's like a lifting workout. So usually it would do, my dad was big on short rest, like short rest for like your sprint workouts. That was like, because I was a middle distance, obviously, so 400. So my workouts would usually fluctuate between like 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 to 6 in that general age. That's like the range I would go for my practices. Essentially, what you really would want to do sometimes is you want to train up for your event, you know, You want to be able, so like if you're a 400, you know, you want to probably be running a lot of fives or like broken sixes, which a broken six is pretty much you break up the 600 in waves. So like you'll go really hard for the first 300 and coast, or not coast, but you'll maintain for the 300. So you're breaking up the race in different sections of how fast you're going. So I would usually stay within that 2 to 8 range of just breaking up, like whether it be like a 3 500s, you know, at 90%, you know, really getting it, like really getting, like I'm telling you.
What kind of rest?
So it depended on the reps, and the reps and sets, but like for like, let's say I'm doing 6 200s, you'd usually break it up. We'll do like 2 sets of 3, and with between each rep, you're probably looking at a minute in between, and it's like literally like you finish,
go back,
and you're getting back on the line. It's not like because you want to train your body to be able to run tired. You know, you want to be able to cheat so having that short rest is essential. If you're looking for more, if you would extend the rest if you wanted to, like, hey, this is like get it 1 rep, like we're coming heavy, like this is, I need you to be like
try to hit it. Yeah,
exactly, like for like Coach Naman, like, hey, this one you got to be faster than your last one, type of thing, you know, to get you to that peak where you're pushing your body, you're training yourself to, when you're in the meet and you're tired, you have that muscle memory where it's like, I know what this feels like and I can push my body past it, type of thing. So the rest was short. My dad was big on short rest between reps, and a lot of rest or good amount. So like 3 minutes in between sets, because each set needed to be on time. And he would tell me, hey, this is the time I need you to hit. This is what I'm looking for. And, you know, if I didn't hit it or I wasn't close, didn't count. Doesn't count. Like I'm not shortchanging you. Like, this is what we're here for. We're not here to, you know, just mess around. We're here to win. So
yeah. And the beautiful thing about it is, based on what I hear, if you did what you had to do and you paid attention to detail, it probably wasn't I'm assuming it wasn't a longer than an hour.
Yeah, no, exactly. My dad was me and my dad. We were like, hey, we're trying to get in and get out. Like, we're not trying to be here all day. Like, so when we were there, we were focused. Like, there was no messing around. It's not like we're just here to, you know, maybe after the workout when we're done, we'll sit, we'll hang out, we'll talk. But while it was there, like, it was business. Like, I'm trying to be focused. Yeah, I'm trying to get better. Like, and my dad was big on that. He was like, we're here for a reason. We're not here to. If we want to joke around, we can do it at the house. Right now, it's time to be focused. Time to put, you know, all of our attention into you getting better and, you know, improving your time. So we were there. We were there for like an hour, if that, in and out.
And I think that's something people can take from, you know, especially like high school athletes, understanding paying attention to the detail of your practice. What are you there for? And if you can have that ultimate focus for your practice and how that translates to a game, right? Like, people don't realize a game is only an hour long, right? You know, for at least, you know, I'm speaking from like a basketball perspective.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
But if you're really diligent on that, you know, hour that you're there and you have that purpose, then you're gonna be able to translate directly to your sport.
Exactly.
Definitely like that. Now, your dad trained you during high school. How was that transition to college?
So college was different. So I say college was different because high school, like I said, it was fast paced. It was chaotic. It was chaotic in a good way. I wouldn't change anything about my high school experience. But college was more structured. College was a lot more organized. Like, I knew when, like, the off season started. I knew when the season started. I knew when indoor started, outdoor started, off season started, conditioning was. I knew everything. I knew they gave us like detailed plan. Like, hey, this is what you can expect to be doing in December.
Oh, so they gave you the workouts too and everything like that?
Not like the workouts, but like it would say like, hey, this period is conditioning. Then this period is we're going to be focused on more the technical. Like, once the season starts, we're not conditioning. It's technical. It's all technical at that point. Like, we're not, you know, we're obviously going to, you know, work hard, but, you know, your base should already be established, like, endurance wise. Like, we're more at this point, once the season starts, we're focused on, you know, technicalities of your running stance, your start, you know, all the things that make the significant tiny difference in your time, like half a millisecond. Yeah. That's what we focused on. And that was detailed in the calendar. Like, hey, conditioning is from this time to this time. Once the season starts, it's technical, and we're focusing on this. And then the off season, you know, we're focused on this. And it was just giving you a detailed outline of what you can expect your focus to be at certain time periods. So you could see the progressions, you know, because you never want to, some people have unfortunately peak too early in the season, you know? So, and you never want that. You don't want to peak too early because you have your championship meets that you're trying to get to and your national championship meets that you're trying to get to. So you want to peak. The ideal time to peak is like a little bit after the halfway point, you know? So you're riding that, like, okay, you're getting better. So if you peak within the first, you know, 2-3 months and you start declining championship meet, like you're not helping anybody. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? So it's a journey. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint, you know?
Yeah, ironically, right?
Right.
How long was your season?
So for college, I had to get used to indoor. I'd never done indoor before high school. So I had to figure that out. But indoor was from the official season started in January and went up until about March. And then from April till about May was outdoor. So it's literally like jump right in. Like as soon as it's a crazy transition. Like for me, like we had our indoor meet and then we would go to our spring break trip where the whole team would go to California, and it was just a week of our spring break. And we had 2 meets. Like it was a training focused spring break. Like we would go to practice. Yeah, we would go to practice in the afternoon, hit the weights, and then, you know, the rest of the day was ours to do whatever we wanted, you know. So it was nice, but you know, we were there for business. Like at spring break where, you know, we're having a good time, but like at the same time, like, no, we have practice at 4:30 every day, and then we have a meet on the weekend.
4:30 in the afternoon?
Yeah. Oh, well, it was a little earlier than that, you know. Yeah. We tried to. Sometimes it was. Sometimes you know, people are like, oh, I want to sleep in. I want to, you know, I don't want to. Well, I was like, man, I'm trying to enjoy my day, you know. 4:30 is right in smack dab middle of the day. So we tried to push for it sometimes, but yeah, it was that was a structured, giving us that type of, you know, idea of what we can expect throughout the season was big, and that's why I just say it's more structured.
Okay, and it's funny because you said you had to get used to indoor, which is ironic because you hold so many indoor records, which is crazy.
Yeah, indoor was something that I had never experienced before. Like once I knew I was going to West Point and I was going to be at a Division I school, and I knew I was going to have to start running indoor, like my dad was like, all right, we got to start getting into some indoor meets. Like we got to start figuring this out now. So I ended up going to like the University of Florida for an open meet, and just to get my, you know, my legs, because it's different. Indoor is different. It's a 200-meter track. You know, you're running on a bank track now, so, and it's a whole different mindset. It's not just,
what are the bank tracks?
Oh,
I don't know what.
So bank track. So indoor works off a bank track. Each indoor meet has a 200-meter track. So, there's that, and then the banks. So on the curves, it lifts up. It lifts up. So it's more of like, it's like a slingshot a lot of the time, and that's the way they teach you to run. They teach you to run off like a slingshot. Like if you're coming, like when you're coming off the curve, that momentum is driving you onto that straightaway. So, like you can Google it and you'll see, and it's so tough because for me, like it's a 400-meter race. If you're running a 400, anything above a 200, you have to start on that bank. Yeah. So you're on it. You're in the blocks. Like if you picture track and field, somebody in the blocks, you know, get down, and now picture yourself at like a 40, like an angle, like a 30-degree angle, where you're just like, you know, you're literally at an angle, and if you know, your body's weight shifts a little bit, you could fall over, you know, especially like if you're on like the higher lanes, like 5 and 6, where it's like, because that bank gets high, like it's a real incline, and you can see it if you just watch like a 200, especially a 200, because that's when like they're flying, like they're coming off that thing, like you can see it. That's the way you're taught, like, hey, you gotta hit that peak, hit that momentum all the way, take that to the top of the curve, and then once you're there, it's gonna drive you down that straightaway. And it's tough. I never experienced that. Like I was like, oh, it's indoor. Like, and it's harder because for somebody who ran outdoor all their lives, obviously the track is bigger, right? So you're running, when you condense the track and you bring it smaller, you're trying to run, your body's forced to go straight, you know, and you're forcing your body to make these hard turns, like with this speed and this momentum, and you're like, so your body's trying to go right and you're trying to turn left. So you're coming off that bank with some serious, like, you can feel it, man. It's hard to explain, but like when you're running that thing full speed, you can feel like you just shoot off, and it's just. So I had to learn that whole process.
And now that you mentioned, I've seen it. It's actually it's pretty. It's so interesting because it really is different. It really is different.
It's
So how did it
like the
feel?
whole.
So throughout your your kind of career there, I mean, you had a lot of highs, right? Like how was it when you did get your 60-meter record and you did get your 200 and your like how does that?
It was.
Know all that or is there or?
Yeah, no, I knew. Yeah, so my freshman year, I came in. So at West Point, if I refer to it as a plebe, bear with me because that's what we call our freshmen at West Point. They're plebes. They're the lowest class. That's what we're referred to. So if I say plebe year, that's what I'm just putting it out there.
Right.
I say it and I try to make it so people understand freshman, whatever. Because just for future, just so knowledge for everybody. So West Point, the way it works is you have your freshman classes, your plebes, and then your sophomore years, you're called yearlings or yucks. And then you have your juniors, and they're called cows, and you have your seniors, and they're called firsties. And apparently the cow one was based off of like back in the old, when West Point just started. If you were a junior, that was the first time you were ever able to leave campus from West Point. Like, and
interesting.
the way the way cadets would leave is they would hitch their stuff on like cows.
Mm-hmm.
So like you knew like that was the cow class that was leaving because they were on cows getting ready to go home.
Yeah.
Because that was the first time you could leave. So that's the term cow year. So cows, firsties, seniors, yearlings, yucks. Yuck. I don't really know what yearling. I guess you've been there a year. I don't know. Just they had to come up with something for everything else, you know. So, but yeah,
created for that one, right?
Yeah. We'll just throw something out. But yeah, so my plebe year, my freshman year, I did really well. You know, I came in with and I say that. Oh, whoops! I say that because I didn't get directly admitted into West Point either. I had to go to a prep school.
Oh.
So yeah, so I pretty much, essentially what you would call a redshirt year. You know, so I went to the prep school, and the prep school is pretty much like the little sister of West Point. You know, I guess you technically would consider it like a JUCO essentially.
Yeah.
Because you know, technically I'm not affiliated with the school of actual West Point. Like when I graduated high school, I went to the prep school, and it's more of a year for individuals who don't have maybe the test scores to get in directly, or are prior service. Like, so a lot of prior service members from the military that went to basic and are private, you know, and they apply to go to West Point. So, and they're out of school for, you know, it's been a couple years since they've been in school. So it's just a year to learn things. And, you know, and for me, I didn't have the test scores to get in directly. They gave me a year, and it's a lot of athletes too. So of a prep school of about 200 kids, it's a lot of it's athletes, because coaches are like, oh, if I can, you know, have them in there for another year, and then I get them and they're a year stronger and more developed, and you know,
you do get to practice, and you do get to
exactly.
You do your own practice during that, or
what West Point does is they have like so like I said, we're not able to officially practice with the actual West Point team. So we have a West Point track team, and we have a West Point track and field prep team.
Okay.
So it's two different teams, and the coach was pretty much just like a representative from the team that was like, hey, like we want somebody that in this position that, you know, we can have dialogue with, see how the kids are doing. You know, we can still talk to us, like they can still talk to us, but like it was just somebody that they had in that position, like an assistant that was like, hey, we want, you know, take care of the track prep team, and you know, this is what we kind of want to do. You know, you're open to do whatever you want, but like this is what we wanted for them to focus. So when we get them, we understand, they know what we want. You know what I'm saying? Same type of thing.
Yeah, makes sense.
So I did that for a year. So I got to, and we competed as the West Point Army track and field prep team. So we got to go to meets.
Other type of JUCOs or preps? Or?
Yeah. So it would JUCOs, and more in the Northeast region. It was JUCOs, but also regular colleges as well. Like,
okay.
We would compete against, we competed against West Point, you know, and we went to Penn relays as a prep team. So we got to do that. So we got to do some cool.
Were you beating people, and like that people were like, how is this kid on
the prep team? Oh yeah, I took it personal. I took it so personal. I'll never forget. I was like, there was a one meet. So West Point had a meet, and it was like an inventory meet, like a tune-up meet for the beginning of the season. So they invite like little local colleges. It's more of just like an interim squad meet, like, hey, just see where you're at type of thing. But we're gonna invite other people to, give you a sense of competition.
Yeah, of course.
And so so we got obviously West Point invited. They had their meet and they were like, oh, West Point prep, it gives them a opportunity to compete and do that stuff. So, but my teammates on the team, like, I was like, listen, like, we are the class that's gonna like change things. We're coming in for that meet. I was like, we're gonna beat them. Like, I get they're gonna be my teammates in the future, but right now, like, I'm because they look at us, I don't want to say downfall, but it's like, oh, you're just a prep school. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
You're just a prep school. Like, you weren't good enough to get in directly. And so it's like, all right. Like, I take it personal. Like, it just made me better. That's the type of athlete I was. Like,
shoulder a little bit.
Yeah, like, I was always a chip on my shoulder. I was always like, all right, like, for me, like a 5'6", short guy running a 400 and, being, good at it, I had to have that chip because I'm running against individuals who are, 6'2", 6'3". They got so much of a stride on me. So I had to felt like I belonged. And so, like, for me, it was just easier to be like, I'm better than you and I'm going to prove it. Like, that's just what it is. Like, and so I took it personal. Like, and there was nothing personal about it. It wasn't like, oh, like they said it. I was just, no, I'm going to beat you because I want you to know I'm that guy. And I'm coming for your spot. You know what I'm saying? Like
that Michael Jordan, effect where he kind of just creates.
Yeah, the last dance. Yeah, exactly.
You got to create something that's going to push you. A lot of it is like, a lot of it is that battle between your ears and your eyes is really where it's at. And if you can win that and put yourself in a position to be like, yo, I'm better than the person next to me, and I work and I have the work ethic to prove it and the resume to prove it in terms of the work and hours I put in. I'm gonna prove it.
Exactly. 100%. And that's kind of where I was at. I was never like me personally, I was never like a cocky, confident guy.
Yeah.
Externally. Internally, I was cocky as hell. I was confident in myself. I would go to races and I would like stand in my line and I'd be like, yo, I'm about to kill this guy. I'm not gonna say it out loud. But you're like, hey, good race, hey, good job, hope you do well, good luck, But inside, I'm like, I'm coming for this guy. Like, I want to embarrass him. Like, that's how I was internally. Like, I motivated myself to be that type of like.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be the good old in your face, like,
yeah,
congratulations. But inside, like, we're not friends. Like,
so how did that race go then? Like that interim race, how did that?
Oh yeah, we beat them. We beat them. Yeah, man. It was a 4x1. The 4x1 relay. That's the one that I was like we're gonna win this thing. Like, we're gonna destroy. Like, because I was like, my idea in my head, I was like, we're gonna come in and everybody on the prep team, we're gonna take over and we're gonna be running 4x1. Like, this is gonna be a freshman 4x1. Like, that's what we're gonna do. And we destroyed them. And I say that we destroyed them because,
What leg were you?
I was anchor. Yeah, so I was bringing it home. I was big bringing it home. Yeah, man. And I say that because, and so I like to think, yes, I did something, but we had this guy. His name was Abraham Hall, and you can look him up. He graduated in 2012. He was the National Gatorade Player of the Year. He was the fastest man in track and field in the 100 and the 200 at the time, like, from Texas, South Grand Prairie, Texas. Number one recruit in the nation for track and field. Number one recruit. Like, he has the fastest time in the 100, and he was like Gatorade National Player of the Year. Like, he's a big deal. And I go on my West Point recruiting trip, and I meet this guy, and he's like, "Hey, I'm Abraham," and I was like, "Hey, what's up, man?" We're so focused on the recruiting trip that we're not like, I'm like, oh, we're on the recruiting trip together, but whatever. Like, so we talked, we hung out. He had a different host than I did, so we weren't there together the whole time. But I talked to him. He was a cool guy. Ended up getting really close, and I was like, "Hey, what's your event?" He's like, "I'm a 1-2 guy," and he was really. I had no idea who he was. Like, and he had already had to state me, so he was big. He was big time. He was.
Yeah, you just didn't know because he was from Texas.
I didn't know, and he didn't say anything. Yeah, he never said anything. He never like went out where it was like, hey, like, he never seemed cocky to me. He was just a normal guy. I was like, oh, cool. And then, and shout out to my man Abraham. And then we finally went to, and then when I got home, my dad like did research. He's like, like, Abraham, like, that was your guy in the trip, Abraham Hall. I was like, yeah. He's like, he's like Texas State champion in the 100 and the 200, right? I was like, what? Yeah, he's a national Gatorade. Like, he's telling me, I was like, what? I looked up on YouTube. He has a Gatorade commercial. He met like Emmitt Smith. Yeah, like, Emmitt Smith presented with him an award. It was crazy. It was wild. And I was like, and then he decided to go to West Point.
Wow. And he was at the prep as well?
He was at the prep school with me. So that's why I say we did really well, because, I mean, you have the top recruiter in the nation.
I'm assuming he was the first leg.
No, he ran second. So the way track and field, he ran second. The way track and field works with like relays is your stronger legs are usually your second and your fourth.
Okay, yeah, that's what it was. Yeah.
Second and fourth. Second leg is usually your stronger leg a lot of the time. It depends on how you coach it, but you want to have your second leg because it's usually one of the longer legs. You're running more of like a 120 as opposed to a 100. Your first leg is running. Your first and third legs are running shorter legs. They're running like 90 meters. So obviously you want your stronger guy to run longer. Mm-hmm. So it's your fourth and your second leg that run longer. So you try to extend the zone. It's a whole process. Yeah, that's your stronger legs are second and fourth. So I was fourth, he was second, and then our really good starter was first, and then a guy usually third leg is interchangeable. So I was fourth. But yeah, so we destroyed West Point track team, killed them, and finished, and I was like, yeah. And then like a year later, I was like, these are the guys I was competing against, became my best friends, you know. But yeah, I competed with a chip on my shoulder, man. Like I was
you're a savage, but they know.
I was like, I'm here. I'll sit here and be nice to you. But
what was one of the prouder moments of your track and field career?
So the proudest moment came at the end of my sophomore year, the end of my outdoor year. On the tail end of the outdoor year. So we had a really good 4x4 team. We had a really, really good 4x4 team. And I was the anchor. I was sophomore. And then there was a guy, Steven, who was a junior. And then we had two seniors, Pat and Clyde. And so the way championships work, the championship series works in track and field collegiately D1, you have or national championship, you have your United States cut in half. You have your East and your West. And they pretty much say, all right, so we have the top 20, 24, top 48 teams, top 48 times individually on each coast go to a meet down. Like we had our meet in Jacksonville. So they take the top 48 times of every single D1 athlete in college track and field. We take them and we invite them to come to the regional meet, top 48 times individually. And then from there, they cut it in half, and the top 24 go to Oregon and compete for the national championship. Yeah, wow. And so for relays, it's not 48, though. It's 24. So it's cut in half. So that's the fight. We were fighting for that 24th spot. Like we were at like 27 and 27, and it's separated by milliseconds. We knew that if we ran a 308 anything, 308.99, that was like historically enough to get you in to go to the meet, to qualify. So, and we were on the cusp of that for like the whole outdoor season. Like we were at like 309.05. Like we were so close. And each meet, we were like, are we going to do it? Like this is going to be the meet that we get it. This is the meet we get it. And then potentially we come down to the end of the season and they have a meet, pretty much what's called a last chance meet. And it's a meet for people who are either trying to get that last qualifying time like us to get into the meet, or those who are, we're using it as a tune-up meet. Like, hey, like we're like, this is the meet right before it starts to get serious. So we want to make sure we enter that and on a good note. So people are there, are motivated. Yeah. People are there are trying to win, they're trying to run fast. So we go to that meet and we're like, we know we need to hit. This is it. This is our last chance. This is what we came here. We're literally here. Nobody did any other event. We were like, we're not doing anything else. We're here for the 4x4. We stayed all day because the 4x4 was the last event. So we stayed all day. We're like, this is what we're here for. We're here for 4x4. Ends up coming. And it's funny to think about it now because that race that I'm about to talk about is my friend Angel. He was in that race with me. He ran for George Mason University. Wow. So he was in that same race with me. So it came like it all came full circle. It was crazy, and we still talk like when I see him like, oh, you're gonna be at the meet. Oh, I'm gonna be there too. So we linked up, but yeah, it was just it was cool to see that, like,
Yeah, that
a
irony.
high school friend, was there at a college meet with me, and I saw him a lot. But yeah, so the meet started. I'm anchor, and my coach is right behind me, like in the stands, and he's yelling. I can hear him. He's like, we're where we need to be. Like, he's yelling as people are running. Like, hey, we're on track. We're on point to hit this 308. Like, we just gotta stay with it. And
Had
it
you
came
guys
down
hit
to
it
me.
before? If you guys like had
We've never hit it. Never hit it. No, never. We were trying so hard. We knew we could do it. Like, it was just like different days. Like, I would have a really good leg, but one of the guys would, he wouldn't have a great leg. And then it would be the opposite. Like, I would run not the greatest leg, and it just never matched up. It never, we were always, for some reason, we always ran. One of us would run a great leg, and one of us couldn't. As long as we did what we were supposed to, we would be fine. But we couldn't do it. So it was always a struggle, and this was our last chance. So this is what we came here, and I was able to. As soon as I got the baton, my coach is like, "Hey, we're there. Like, this is it. You got to go." And I can hear him, and I'm like, "Oh, this is. I got to do it now. I'm last leg." Yeah. So he's like, "Hey, we're in position." He's like, "If you do what we were supposed to do, like, I had to run fast, obviously. He's like, but if you run what I know you're capable of running, like, we can do this."
Yes.
And I'm so nervous. I'm seeing my guy come down the lane. I'm like, "Oh, okay. Like, if we don't do it, like."
You're just like, oh my god.
Yeah, I'm getting so nervous, and they got it, and there was the George Mason guy, not my friend, one of his teammates, the anchor. Thank God for him, because he pushed me. Like, first and second were like, we were shooting for third. First and second were kind of doing their own battle, which I didn't care if we got eighth. We could have got last place, but if we hit 308, I was whatever. Sounds good. I don't care. So, but yeah, thank God for him, because you run faster when somebody's pushing you. So, and he got it a little bit before me, so I was playing catch up, which made me run faster.
So their team was good at 4x4.
They were good. Yeah, they were really good. They ended up making it to the meet. Yeah, so he pushed me. We end up finishing. I passed the finish line, and as soon as I passed the finish line, like, I see my teammates. We're all sitting there waiting. Like, we're waiting for the scoreboard, because they post results immediately. So they wait for me to finish. Once I'm done. Like, we're just sitting there, just waiting, just like, oh my god, like, just waiting, looking at this time. It felt like forever. And then it finally, like, popped up 308.95, 308.95. Oh, it was such a moment where I was just like, we were all, because track is, it's an individual sport, but at the same time, you have your relay events, and that's what I prided myself. Like, I would rather put myself on a really good relay team and do well in that than do well individually. Like, I was a big relay team guy. Like, that was my focus. 4x4, 4x1s, like, I'm focused on open events, but, like, I would rather my success be like in that on the relays. So to do that with those guys, we worked so hard all year long to finally, like, hit that mark, and to do it at that last second, the time that we needed. My coach came down, we were all, like, yelling, like, yeah, we did it. And then, like, it was funny, one of the officials was like, you guys need to get out. Like, if you don't leave, like, we'll probably get disqualified. We're like, oh, okay, all right, let's get out of here. We're like, let's leave. We'll celebrate somewhere else.
Oh, good call.
But,
good call. Yeah. Thank you for that.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate it. But yeah, so that was a moment that I'll never forget. And then we ended up we got to go to the meet. We were 24th. We got 24th. We pulled the last spot, and fourth, like 24. It was all, like, separated by maybe a millisecond, like point. Like, if you ran a 308.96, you probably were 25th, and you didn't get in.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's like, it was close. It's down to the wire. But so to do that, and
get into the room, if you just get into the track, essentially champions, then you have a chance.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Theoretically. Yeah. So, that was a great experience. We ended up going to Jacksonville compete. We didn't end up making it to Oregon. We did well. We got to run against we ran against really, really good schools. Yeah, that was an experience I wouldn't change. That just was something that I'll never forget.
Now talk about an experience that maybe you won't change it, maybe you wouldn't. But what would you say is the toughest experience you've had to go through for your track and field career?
So ironically, I would say my toughest moment was that same year, but indoor season. So my toughest was the indoor season, which is like at the beginning of it, which is like I said, January, February, whatever. And so that's when I experienced this. My proudest was at the end. So like June of that, a couple months later. But my toughest moment was because, so it was my sophomore year. Like you said, I had just come off a lot of success my freshman year. Like I did really well. I broke some records. I was able to win rookie of the meet. So I knew what my expectations were for how I should compete and where I should be. And so we ended up getting a new coach. My coach that originally recruited me that I had for my freshman year, he ended up getting a job to go somewhere else. So we got a new coach in. They brought somebody in, and I mean, he was qualified, like athletically. I think he went to Florida State. He was a national qualifier in the hurdles, for the 110 hurdles. I think he went to the Olympic trials and competed there. So he was, he knew he had the experience. But he was just one of those guys that I feel like there's three type of people in the sports world. You have like your athletes who can coach, or coaches who were also athletes at one point. They do both well. And then you have like a coach who maybe wasn't the greatest athlete, a really good coach who wasn't the greatest athlete, but they're a good coach. And then you have an athlete who's probably not the greatest coach, great athlete, but just can't put it together, doesn't understand how to teach somebody how to do what they want. And he was one of those individuals. And this was his first coaching job. So, credit to him, but he wasn't able to figure it out. And I don't think it was for him, to be honest. I don't think, coaching's not for everybody.
What do you think a coach has to have to be able to, your perspective, obviously it was your
So I would say one is you definitely need to hold people accountable. If you're not performing to the level that you should be, I feel like a coach should be that person, should have that type of relationship where they can call you out and be like, hey, like, what's going on? Like, what, like, is there something, like I need you, especially if you're a leader on the team, they need you. I feel like a coach should empower that leader to be like, hey, like, I need you to, one, live up and lead by example, teach these young guys. And as well as, I need you to, perform. Like I need you to perform. And I just didn't think I don't think he really understood how to lead people or how to coach people. Like I felt like in his mind, he knew what he wanted, but words coming out of his mouth and how it actually came out and how he was trying to do it just didn't work out. And I think a coach should be able to have that clear, like an athlete, there should be no confusion between an athlete and a coach. It should be, hey, this is what my coach expects of me. This is what our plan is. This is how I'm supposed to execute whatever game plan I need to do. Like it should be clear and concise. And a lot of the times I would go into events and races where, there's different ways to run races. There's different ways, strategies, and I would go into races and I just wasn't confident in how I was supposed to execute. So I would just go back to, what I did natural, which isn't always the best. Sometimes you to get comfortable, you got to be uncomfortable. You got to put yourself in a position where, maybe this doesn't feel right now, but I'll eventually get there. And that's kind of what I was putting myself, my mindset, at the time I thought, he's a coach, he's my coach. I'm gonna do what he says. Like, I'm gonna, that's what he wants. But I didn't start competing to the level I was at last year or what I knew, like I said, my expectations. Like I was running terrible times. On top of that, I I got hurt, pulled my hamstrings. So it was just a battle. And I got to the point where I was like, one, I'm not competing where I want to compete. I'm not at the level where I need to be, what I'm used to. I'm hurt, dealing with all this, this emotion of, can I do this anymore? Like, should I do this? So I got to the point where I almost quit. I was like, I've done this my whole life, essentially. And I got to the point where I was like, I started to doubt myself. Like, am I good? Like, should I be here? Should I just take, call it a career? It was great, move on. Yeah. But, and that was a tough call. And I debated that for like a month. Wow. I was like each day I was like dreading practice, dreaded the meets. I was like, I don't want to be here. Like, I just didn't want to, I was very prideful. Like, I didn't want to go out there and not put the best, performance I could out there. Like, if I can't put 100%, then I shouldn't be out there. Yeah. So, that was tough. And like I said, I ended up not quitting. Thankfully I stayed on. decided, you know what, I made this commitment.
Yeah.
I made this commitment to myself. I made this commitment to my teammates. Like, and at that point, you know, I had already started developing myself as a leader, you know, as somebody that people could count on the team. And I didn't want to let them down. You know, that I would hope, looking back on it, my whole track career, if anybody had to say anything about me as an athlete, I would hope, like a teammate, I would hope they would say that I was a team player. Like, that's what I wanted to be. I wanted to be a team player. I wanted my guys to know, like, I had their back. And so I felt like quitting on them was, you know, I couldn't do that. I couldn't do that to them. And so I stuck it out. My coach ended up, for some other outside circumstances, had to leave. So he was gone. He was only there for the indoor season. So I ended up getting my head coach the outdoor season. He was a long distance coach, but he stepped in.
Coach, or was it an intern?
It was just yeah, it was our head coach, but he had assistants that he could, because he was a long distance guy, so he had an assistant that he could have watch over the long distance while he focused on the sprint group.
Okay.
Yeah, so he just kind of like stepped in the role. He just covered down. But yeah, and then after that, you know, I started doing better, and like I said, you know, I was able to get back to where I was, competition wise and
Average came back, the confidence and the
yeah. Slowly started coming back. Like, it was just one thing, and it was just like, okay, like, all right. I was starting to see progression. I was like, okay, all right, I got this. Like, I'm good. And then once the confidence came back, and once I was able to sit there and say, like, you belong here, like, you deserve, like, this is what you're here to do. Like, you can do this. You know, that was a game changer for me. And I say, like you said, you were talking about the mental game. I think that's a huge part of sports, man. Like, you can, I believe you could probably be one of the better athletes, but like, if mentally you're not there, if you're mentally not focused, you're not, you know, where you want to be, or you're not thinking about what you should be, then somebody's going to be able to take over you, and they're going to be able to beat you because you're not focused. No matter how much talent you have.
100%. It's the hardest muscle to keep balance and keep working. I mean, look, you said it. You work out for an hour, 2 hours, maybe, you know, an hour. You have recovery for an hour. That's 2 hours out of the day. Your mind is something that you continuously have to work on throughout every moment. And so if you don't have that, or have strategies in place, or people or a support system in place to help you, it's hard, you know. And it really is what separates the difference between a great, and a phenomenal athlete in person, really. But
yeah, really, yeah.
I respect that. And the crazy thing about it, that what I hear as not only as like a, you know, your interviewer, but also as a friend, is it's crazy how you can go from, like you said, you know, getting those records and going through that, but the realest thing you did was go through a roller coaster of emotions and go right back on top. And so I respect you for that, and I humbly say, like, thank you for sharing that, because athletes a lot of times think that it's supposed to be you're supposed to be at this high the entire time, and it's really the trouble times that make you and what get you through and make those high times worth it, is what I would assume.
100%. Yeah, man. Those are the moments that, like, define athletes. I think, you know, anybody can look good when they're winning, you know, but how are you when, you know, when you're losing? Like, how are you? Are you somebody who, you know, if you feel like, all right, I can't do this anymore, like, are you one to just give up right there? Or are you going to fight for your spot back? And that's something that, you know, that taught me that, like, I'm telling you, I was ready to quit. I was telling people on the team, I'm probably not going to be here much longer. And they're like, really? And I was like, yeah, I just couldn't do it. And that taught me a lot about myself. You know, that taught me about, you know, who I am as a person, not just sports wise, but just as a person. Like, can I bounce back if I need to? Like, if something in my life happens, and that's what I love about sports, is that it teaches you, you know, life lessons. Like, a lot of, like, me, like, West Point being a leadership academy, like, that's what we focus on. It's leadership and being able to, you know, be a leader of character. I credit sports to everything I think about leadership, everything I believe in, to being a good person, being a good team player. I learned everything through sports, you know, being a follower and as a leader. And I 100% believe you got to follow before you can lead. Like, you can't just jump into a position, and if you don't know how to take direction from somebody, you can't. So that was a big thing for me to understand, that sports is going to have your roller coaster emotions. You're going to go through your highs and lows. You're going to have your times where, you know, everybody's on your parade wagon and you're doing great things, and then there's going to be moments where you feel alone and you're like, and having that support system, like you said, man, that support system is huge. Like being able to confide in, I don't know, a teammate or a coach or somebody to just be like, get your mental health right, to be able to say, hey, like, get your head focused, get your game where you need to be, and
you go from there.
Yeah.
No, I love it, man. And so, it's interesting. I look back at my high school athletic days, and I think of, one thing I pride myself on is I was definitely a hard worker. Like I worked my butt off.
100%.
I had going into my junior year, I was we ran cross country like we said. My schedule at that time was, I used to wake up and go to the basketball gym and shoot basketball early before school started. So I'd be there around 5:45, 6 o'clock, shoot until 7. And then we had class from 7 to 2 or whatever, and then we had cross country where we would run anywhere from 8 to like 12 miles a day or whatever it was. And then after that, I would come home, do homework, go play basketball for another couple hours, and then go to work from 9 to 12.
Yeah, I remember. I remember you. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I remember you guys saying like, "Yeah, I got work tonight" or something. Yeah, and I'm like, "Bro, you got work after this, man." Like, I do remember that. Yeah,
it was crazy. I used to and then work from 9 to 12, and then and then wake back up and did it again for.
That's crazy.
I did it for about 5 months my junior year, because I know junior year is your big year for you to get.
Yeah, that's when. Yep.
But I ended up getting hurt, and that's when I had my major back injury. And
oh yeah, that's right.
I can look back at my and tell myself is working hard is great, but working smart is better. Like I would have prioritized, but I didn't have anyone to tell me that, right? I didn't have.
You're doing it on your own, yeah.
I didn't have podcasts to listen to and learn
exactly
how to educate, and what's the different, what's the importance of the evidence behind resting and mental health and meditation and stretching or what type of stretching, static versus dynamic, and dietitian, what should I eat? I worked at Taco Bell and I would eat whatever I could.
See whatever you could get your hands on. Yeah, you're a high school kid, man. You got a lot going on. Yeah,
so I would tell myself, work smarter, dietitian, learn more about that, resting and mind stuff. What kind of stuff if you could look back and tell your high school self, what could you do what would you have done to optimize yourself as an athlete? What would you do?
I would probably say, so I got there'd be two things. The first thing is, one, never miss an opportunity to get better. I feel like there was a lot of times in high school where it was kind of just go through the motions type of thing. It wasn't like, for me, there'd be times where I felt like I could take a rep off, and that, unfortunately, like, that's kind of just the mindset I was in, where it's like, I'm tired, like, I'm gonna take one rep off. I'm gonna, maybe not go as hard, maybe not, focus as much on this rep or on this skill that I'm trying to do. And that was something that, I look back on, I'm like, man, I could have been so much better if I just, it wasn't like long periods of time, right? It's not like, oh, like I took a whole day off, but like, if you start to add up the little things, each and every day, where you're like, oh, well, I took off one rep here, and then tomorrow, well, I took 10 minutes where I wasn't really focusing on this skill, and it all just starts to add up, and you look back on it and you're like, man, I really could have taken advantage of that opportunity. I'm already there, right? Like, if you're already there, why not work hard? Why not put the hard work in? You're already there. Like, you might as well get something out of it if you're going to be there, running and dying and, tired and exhausted. Like, you might as well get something out of it. Yeah. And so that's something that I would look back on, and I just think about, like,
maximize every
maximizing every opportunity. And like, even like for a high school student, like, if you're not doing anything, and like, let's say like, if you're a track guy, like, you're just strictly track, like, why not do something in the fall? Why not do something like cross country to help, just to get you, in shape? Why not? It's an opportunity. Like, don't get me wrong, cross country, not fun. As you can probably attest to, like, it's not the greatest thing, it's tough.
I remember we had a t-shirt that said, our sport is your punishment, is your sport's
punishment. Yeah. Nobody wants to run. Like, oh, I know going into practice that you're going to be running miles. Like, that's like, come on. Yeah, like that's terrible. Like, but it's necessary. It's one of those things. It's an opportunity for you to get better. You know, it's an opportunity for you to look at and be like, either I could do that, or I could just hang out at the house and watch Netflix and do nothing and do nothing to help me. And then you're looking back on it and you're like, why did I do that? Like, what was my mindset to just take the easy way out? And I think that was things that I wish that I would have done better. Just take more opportunities. And my second thing is know your sport and know what your sport needs of you, like as in lifting wise. Because for me, you know, in high school, I was just like, I just want bench. I just want to do bench. I just want to, you know, I just want to get big muscles. I just want to, you know, I want to.
Our friend group was a bunch of tools.
Exactly. No, exactly. 100%. You know, like
Jonathan, Daniel, Felix.
Yeah, they just want to throw on like, and then like people like, you know, looking at like Keith Clemens, like, hey, benching like 300-400 pounds. You're like, what the hell, like, man, like, it's like, but you know, that's just something like, that's what hit. Like my sport didn't call for that. Like me being a sprinter, me being a 400, 200, 100 guy, like I didn't need to bench 200-300 pounds. I didn't need to be able to do that. Like I didn't need to be able to squat 500 pounds. Would it be nice? Yeah, probably, but I don't need to do that. So like being able to understand, like I was like a sprinter. As a sprinter, you're explosive. You need explosive movements. You need explosive lifting. So, you know, you need to do a 1 rep max of bench. No, like, do you need to curl 90 pounds? No, like for what? What is that going to do for you to help you? So
actually translate.
Yeah. And that's what I think a lot of young athletes, you know, don't understand. Like for me, it was just like, oh, okay, I want to get faster. How do I get faster? I get stronger. Okay, how do I get stronger? I lift more. Oh, okay, cool. I didn't understand the concept of, you know, lifting smart. Like you said, lifting smart, you know, working smarter, not harder, you know, being able to understand my sport needs me to be able to be explosive for, if I'm a 100 meter, for 10 seconds. Mm-hmm. That's what I need. I need to be able to, you know, lift a good amount of weight explosively. So like cleaning, or, you know, things that like are explosive movements and powerful movements. Or like if you're squatting, you know, when you come up fast, you know, it's a jump. Like that's the stuff that I wish I would have known, that I didn't really learn. Or maybe if I didn't even know, I didn't really pay attention to. Maybe that's probably fault on my part. Like I wasn't looking towards that. I would just, I want to get huge. I want to bench 300 pounds. Like that's. But if you're really trying to be successful at your sport, look at what your sport calls for you to do. Like, do you really care how much defensive back benches in the NFL Combine? Not really. Like, I don't really care about that. Like, he doesn't need to do that. He needs to be able to run, you know, move his hips. He needs to be able to, you know, move on a dime. Like, that's what his focus is on. So, and that's the same thing like each and every sport. Every sport, that position, whether it's, you know, shooting guard or sprinter or offensive lineman, they have their traits that they need to be successful. And I think if more athletes understood that and how to get there, lifting wise or training wise, like that's a huge advantage. Like going into, especially for college, like it was a whole new world for me. Like I go to college and they're telling me like, hey, all right, I need to clean. I want, you know, 60% of your mat. I'm like, what the hell? Like, sure. And like, you know, learning all this at one time, it was just a culture shock. And I look back on it, I'm like, man, I really could have, you know, done something and made myself better if I would have just done the research or done my homework to see what I needed to be, what professionals in my sport and my position did to be successful.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'll add on to that is, you know, the first thing I loved I'm my 4th year physical therapy student, so I love the multi-sport dimension of things, what you said, you know.
Oh, yes.
Because in terms of cross-training and how much that helps you put yourself for injury prevention for your own sport. You know, if you don't work out a certain muscle for X amount of time, and then if for whatever reason you have to use that muscle, or that muscle comes into play, you know, because the agonist muscle ends up having to be a little bit more exhausted, then that's how injuries happen. So being able to cross-train and put yourself in position to be well-rounded, 100%, especially during your off-season, 100%. I love that. The second thing in terms of opportunity functionally translating your training, dude, look at Michael Jordan. He literally didn't take off until he started weightlifting. right?
Exactly.
Because he didn't know. And this is Michael Jordan, the greatest at the time. And even when he was at the peak and leading the NBA and scoring for X amount of years, he was like, what do I got to do to get better? Oh, you need to start lifting in this way, this specific way, for you to be able to take
Yep.
advantage of a Detroit Pistons and, you know, and the way that they handle themselves.
The bad boy Pistons. Yeah, you got to, man. Especially, yeah.
Working smart.
You think Michael Jordan would be able to deal with all that beatings if he wasn't lifted? He wasn't getting stronger. He had to. Like,
he had to, and so I love that, man. Thank you, man. I can't thank you enough. By the way, anyone who's watching this on YouTube, please go ahead and subscribe, like, and go ahead and follow us as well at the Lifers Podcast on Instagram and on Twitter at the Lifers Pod. You can also visit our website for all of our content or other shows at theliferspodcast.com. And if you want some merch, go ahead. You can cop that as well with the code. You can get 10% with the code FIT4Lifers. That's FIT, the number 4, and Lifers. Man, again, Jose, thank you so much, man. I honestly will probably have you on here again. I really enjoyed talking to you, my boy.
Hey, I'll tell you this, man. Whenever you have a spot, I'll gladly, whatever. We don't even got to talk about track. We can talk about whatever, like Bad Boy Pistons. We can talk about whatever. I don't care. Like, whatever, man. I love talking sports. I'm a big sports guy. So being able to talk about it with somebody who understands, you know, somebody who has their journey and, you know, has their experiences, like, it's awesome, you know, and especially coming from you, man, like somebody who's, you know, so dedicated to the sport, you know, so dedicated to this lifestyle. Like, it's awesome. And I just want to say I appreciate it again, man. Really, thank you so much for having me on here. And I would love to do it again. So whenever you have a spot, whenever you have something, hey, you know where to find me, man. And I'm definitely going to say I'm gonna get some merchandise. Just so you know. So look for my order.
Love it. Hey, real quick, shout out to East River High School, our alum. Shout out to
man.
Your alum.
Thank you.
Shout out to our friends.
Hey, I'm sure we could go on and on about, you know, times of memory sports. I just want to say sports, you know, half of my experiences come from sports. And
we need to do this is what we'll do. I think we need to just put it on because we have the Lifers Podcast, our other show where the Lifers, where we talk anything kind of sports related. What we can do is we'll have all of us on, and we'll just go.
That'd be so much fun. That just reminisce, man, and just talk. Hey, and I think that'd be amazing. You let me know. I'll put that on my calendar.
I'm gonna throw this in there. We mentioned something, working smart. We have a quick tidbit that we could probably say. We probably say because it's more related. We didn't really go into the time when we got injured at the same day.
Oh my gosh!
I'll never forget.
My God.
We talk about football. It's spring football. Jose and I both play running back. You know, he was the quick guy. I was
Hey, Kevin was a bruiser. Kevin's coming for you. Yeah. Kevin's coming for you.
Gotta find it, whether I have a bad fullback or not.
Yeah. Hey, Josh Bear. Shout out to Josh Bear.
Yeah, thank you, Josh.
Josh Bear knows about his blocking, man. I'm gonna just say that. You know, we had our session, our room, our Coach Rankin and all that going off on us and how terrible we were.
Yeah, do you know how bad of a feeling it is when your coach is screaming at you on top of his lungs, and then you're like, "Coach, I did that," and he's like, "Oh, my bad."
He said, "Oh."
You're like, you just got off on me for like 10 minutes.
I just want to make sure that okay, no apology, got it. All right.
So that day that we're talking about, we both got injured. So this man, Jose was, I think you ran a screen or
I ran like a screen or something
like that. And this man pulled a hamstring.
Pull my hamstring. Stretch, kids, please stretch.
Because he didn't cool. He didn't warm up.
I didn't warm up.
He was in the sideline, and he's just out here, just like, I go to him, make sure you check on him. He's my fellow running back. Hey, how you doing?
Yeah.
Good. At this point, I'm exhausted. I'm over here. I don't have no one splitting carries with me at that point.
No, yeah, you're by yourself.
I'm like, all right, and I make a joke. I was like, honestly, Jose, at this point, I'm probably gonna be next to you, like, soon. It's literally a joke I made. And the very next, 2 plays later, the way that it went, I'll never forget. So we ran a screen, and I was open on the screen, and at the quarterback, it was Jonesy at the time,
Jonesy, yeah.
He missed the pass. He didn't pass it to me. And the coach at the time, he blew the whistle. He was angry. He was like, "Yo, how are you missing? He's wide open."
Yeah.
And so he told the defense is listening, and he goes, "Run the same play." and you better not miss him.
You better not.
And I'm
So they know where you're gonna be.
Bro, you literally set me up for death. Like, what you're gonna set me up with a screen? Are you kidding me?
A screen. You're telling them we're running a screen. Okay.
Yeah, I was so angry. This man said, "Hut, run a screen." He throws the pass. I catch. I dodge one person, and then I get smushed by two.
Oh my!
Next thing you know, I just dislocated my shoulder, and I'm sitting right next to Jose the very next play.
I'll never forget, bro. I'll tell my side, man. 100% true. I'll never forget. You say, "Hey, I'll be right back with you. Don't worry." And I was like, yeah, man. Hey, go do your thing, man. I'll be here. Like you said, 2 plays later, I remember watching the play. I remember watching everything happen, and I see you get hit, and I'm like,
he's not moving.
He's not getting up. I'm like, he is face down. He's not. Trainers are coming. Okay, trainers go. 5 minutes. He's bandaged up next to me. Hey, I was like, oh, why? Why'd you do? How? He literally called it.
I never played football after that. I would have, but at the same time, like I was so focused on basketball, like just trying to get that. But
yeah,
man, great times, great memories. We have a bunch of them, and I'm sure we'll talk about them soon.
Yeah, man, definitely. Yeah, so reminiscing, man, definitely brings back, man. Like I said, good time. I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much for everything. And to all the kids out there listening, you know, all I would say is my biggest piece of advice that I had is just do your sport until you're done having fun with it. Once you don't have fun with it, once it's not fun anymore, you know, maybe it's time to look at actually walking away. And I know it's harder to be done than just doing it, but that's like, and just quick little tidbit before we go, when I did move back to Orlando, my dad was coaching. I got like maybe 3 months of being able to have my first opportunity at coaching. Because my dad was like, I don't know if you remember Mark Randio.
Yeah.
He's the head coach at East River now.
Get out of here.
Yeah, he's the head coach at East River.
He was our, what do you call the freshmen at the time?
Plebes.
He was our plebe, wasn't he?
Yeah, exactly. Because he was the year. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, he's the head coach at East River now. He's the head coach, track field and cross country coach. Yeah, when my dad told him, like, yeah, you know, Jose's coming back. He's, you know, and you know, my dad was like, hey, my dad coached the 400 group. That was his middle distance group. But he was like, hey, you know, if you ever watch, and my brother's on the team too, so you know, I wanted to go support him. So I would go to the practices, you know, just, you know, watch. And then one thing led to another, and my dad was like, hey, like, you know, you obviously have experience with this. Like, if you feel like you want to jump in at any point, you know, please feel free, you know. And I was kind of, at first I was like, whatever, I don't really whatever. And then I didn't even notice it. Like, it's just one instant into another. Like, one instant I'm sitting there, you know, like, I don't really want to, like, I don't want to, you know, I'm just going to sit back. I'm just here just to, you know, for support. And then second later, I'm like demonstrating at full, like, hey, this is how you got to do this. This is how you got to do that. Yeah, I'm getting down. I'm like doing all that. And it really, like, you know, it was a great experience, man. And I wish I could have done it more, but to be able to, like, and I listened, like, to one of your episodes about, you know, the coach's corner and, you know, how you guys developed, like, your middle school girls, you know, to be able to go to the next level and do all that, and your experience with coaching. Like I said, I only got like a very, very small tidbit, like, and I only coached like the 4x1 because I was like, I could only be there based on my work. I could only be there Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So I didn't have all week. So I told him, I was like, hey, like, I would love to help out, but I can't be here.
Can't commit to it.
I can't fully commit. So I don't want to have like a group where I'll take a 4x1, and, you know, relays, you only really practice maybe like 2 days of the week anyway, you know. So I could do that. I was like, yeah, well, I'll take care of my 4x1 group. You know, I'll work with them, and, you know, I'll do that. And I loved it. I tell you right now, man, loved it. Loved the guys that I got, you know, to experience my short little, you know, speck of coaching for the 3 months due to this coronavirus. And, you know, we had to cancel the season, unfortunately. So, but yeah, man, coaching, hey, I give you credit, bro. It's hard. It's hard. It's hard, man.
I was a track and field coach for the middle school as well before this corona thing.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Had you come by, because.
Oh man, that'd have been awesome. Yeah.
It'd be cool, but Yeah, it's fun. It's fun. I think you said it perfectly when you said there's three different type of people, and I think I always say that I always believe that you're one of those where you can be an athlete and a coach. People whether you know it or not, people want to listen, man. People want to
Well,
listen.
I appreciate it, man. Hey, same thing for you, man. Like you like being able. I actually had a question for you,
Love
and
it.
I was I didn't want to interrupt you, but so you were saying, you were mentioning, there was a point where in high school where you were doing so much, you were doing everything, like you were doing, like you said, you were doing, basketball practice from like 5 a.m., 6 a.m. in school, work and everything. What I wanted to know is what kept you motivated to be able to continue to put up with that? Like, I mean, like you said, it was, I'm sure at some point you're like, all right, man, like I'm doing so much. There had like, and I just like, was there ever that point where you were like, am I doing too much right now, or do I need to stop, or am I doing the right thing? Or like how was it? Did you ever get a chance to reflect? I guess, I know it's hard, like thinking back, because you got so much going on. Like, do you really have a time to sit back and be like, okay, like did that moment ever happen for you, or like what kept you motivated to keep pushing, if anything?
Thank you for asking that. That's a good question. At the time, I think if I think I was putting a lot of emotional stuff that at the time that I was going through emotionally into my craft. So,
Mm-hmm.
Either I'm going to take all my emotions, all the things that I'm going on in my life, and put into something I don't think is productive, such as like making stupid decisions or going to parties or doing that kind of
Yeah.
thing. I kind of just said I want to double down on the things I know I enjoy to do. So, I always loved and still love to play basketball. I
Yeah.
always loved the idea of trying to be the best version of myself. In terms of like PRs and things of that nature.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
I love internal competition. But I also just I truly I'm from Miami, so it's kind of the whole like Miami boy thing, like it really is like a culture thing where like it's tough. It's tough.
Yeah. But it's necessary. Like you're gonna do it. Like,
So it was kind of at the time I like I didn't have a father figure that was there, that was literally there,
yeah.
that was pushing me. So I kind of wanted to kind of prove that I didn't need it in a way.
Oh,
So
okay. Yeah. Hey, that's. I'm sure that was tough, man. That sounds like I say, like, my experience, I'm completely blessed,
yeah,
because if I'm be honest with you, if my dad wasn't there to like pretty much drag me through a lot of this, workouts or seasons, and like, um, I don't think I would have had the motivation. If I was in your shoes, I don't know if I would have been able to, you know,
no, and shout out to my father.
keep it going.
I don't want to make it like my stepdad was working his ass off, so he
Yeah,
wasn't.
yeah. But just sometimes you don't have that. You can't.
Yeah, my dad just wasn't. My parents got separated, so they weren't living.
Yeah.
So, but I didn't like. It was just. And that's what goes back to my advice was like I wish I would have done more research on a game plan of how to best prepare myself. So, no, it was hard, bro. It was hard, but I'll tell you, actually, I only took the time to reflect on it when I was injured. Like when I was injured,
Mm-hmm.
when I'm going, you're going.
Yeah,
You wake
exactly.
up and you're like, at that
It's a
time,
hustle and bustle type of thing. You're like, I gotta go. I got this. I got that. I got this. When
yeah.
you're hurt, you're like, you got time to sit back.
And I had fun, man. I had fun. Like when we go to school, like at that time when we went to school, like we laughed, like we
Oh
we
my
had
God,
fun.
laugh like no other. Yeah,
Yeah, we have fun. Like we're one of those rare situations where we've had friends for 15 plus years. So
exactly.
that's a blessing. And but no, I appreciate that question. It was definitely something that gives me a point of view, like at moments like now, like where things are difficult. I
Mm-hmm.
know that I've been through difficult.
You've been through something, yeah, and you can exactly, yeah.
In
That's crazy.
hindsight,
Yeah,
it helps you.
yeah. I was curious, man, because that sounded tough, man. I don't think, like I said, I don't think many people could have been in your shoes and been able to look back and see, hey, this is where I came from, and look at where you're at now. Like, bro, you're getting your doctorate. Like, that's insane to me. Like,
Thank you, man.
so, hey, shout out to you, man. We're like, it's like I know, you know, you're probably looking at me like, oh, athletic, but I look at you, bro, and I'm like, bro, you're doing it, man. Like, I'm so proud to call you my friend and somebody that I can, like, you know, do this with, you know, just talking, you know, reminisce, you know, and like I love it.
You're gonna start making me blush, so I don't.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I gotta stop. Let me chill out.
Hey, much love, and again, thank you. And I
Yep.
look forward to the next episode for sure.
Hey, man. Thank you so much. Again, thank you for everything, man. I appreciate it.